Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Taylor, and for today's video, we are going to be doing a bit of a book haul. I haven't done one of these in quite some time, so this is going to be all of the books. As you can see from the stack behind me, and I've got a stack over here too. This is all the books that I received from August and a little bit of a July. So from July until October. So there's a lot of books to get through. So I'm not going to have a huge intro. We're just going to get into the books and let's get started with the haul. Alright, so I'm kind of dividing these up into how and where I received or purchased these books. The first stack that I have is from Book of the Month, and these are all the books that I've received from, I believe, August to November. I'm just going to include my November one in here because why not? Book of the Month is really nifty for a lot of reasons, but for the purpose of today's video, it's important they have the date that you got it here. So this is August 2019, The Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware. I have read this one. I love it. Very, very good. This is my first Ruth Ware. I will definitely be picking up anything else she writes and going back and reading her backlist books because this was really awesome. The book of the month that I got in September was The Chestnut Man by Soren Sveistrup. I haven't picked this up yet. It's a very chunky thriller. I think it might actually be like more of a crime story too. I just haven't been in the reading mood to read this yet, but I'm hoping to get to it soon. And then in October, I was apparently on one because I got not one, not two, but 3 books. I maxed out. Not sure what happened. I blacked out or something, but I got 3 books. So in October, I got The Beautiful by Renee Audier, and I really enjoyed this one. We'll see. I am looking forward to reading the next one. It's about vampires in New Orleans. I give it a 3 out of 5 stars. And then I also got Circe. This was the book of the year for 2018. I have not picked it up, and I'm kind of interested. I have heard so much hype about this one from Book of the Month, from just people on BookTube, from actually people in general on my not online life have actually talked about this. So I wanted to pick it up. I do enjoy Greek mythology. I stopped kind of enjoying it because of one teacher in high school, but I think this would be like the perfect reintroduction into Greek mythology, so I'm looking forward to picking this one up. It'd be nice to pick this one up before the end of the year, but I have a lot of very ambitious reading goals, so I am not holding my breath for this one. And then the last book that I got in October was Imaginary Friend by Stephen Chbosky. This was really good. If you're just picking this up because he's the Perks of Being a Wallflower author, you probably won't like it because it's a very different book in writing style too, just as well as tone and content, but this is a really good horror. If you're not intimidated by lengthy books, this was pretty good. This is one of my favorite reads of October, so highly recommend it. And then the book of the month that I got in November was Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo, which is weird because I thought this came out in October, but it was one of the November picks, so I went ahead and picked this up. It's been very hyped around BookTube, and this is one of the few hyped books on BookTube that I've been very intrigued by. Normally I'll wait once the hype has died down and we get more reviews on it. However, I have not read Leigh Bardugo before, and this actually really sounded like a book I would pick up whether it was BookTube hyped or not, so I figured I would give it a try. Now we're going to be moving on into books that I bought new, and there are more books than I usually buy new in hauls. I do mostly try and get my books either from Book of the Month or just thrifted. Keep in mind this is from July through October, so that's pretty good. And then also there were just a lot of new releases that were very backlogged towards the end of the year. I don't think I bought that many new books at all this year. I don't know, I have to justify. I think I'm just kind of justifying it to my editing self because I'm looking at all of these books right now and it is a lot. This is why I like to do monthly hauls instead of just all at once, because I'm very overwhelmed by the sheer number of books. So moving on to the books that I purchased new. The first book that I got is A Dream About Lightning Bugs by Ben Folds, and this is his memoir or autobiography. I don't really know the difference between the two. I actually pre-ordered this one on Barnes & Noble because if you pre-ordered it, it came signed, which is pretty cool. Ben Folds is probably one of the most impactful musicians for me. His music is very, very good, but it's not just that. It's just I have so many memories and nostalgia wrapped up into his work. Just anything from like family car trips, we'd listen to Rock in the Suburbs EP, and then in high school there was just a phase where like pretty much that was all I'd listen to. So whenever I listen to his stuff, it's very nostalgic for me, and I just think he seems like a really interesting and genuine person. So I wanted to pick this up, give it a read. It sounded like an interesting really read because if you've listened to Ben Folds, like his music's kind of out there, like the titles and the subjects that they go over are very much like little stories in and of themselves. So I'm interested to see in like where he got his ideas and the basis for some of his songs. I think that would be really cool. So I haven't read it yet, but I do really want to get to it. Another book that I have purchased recently was The Institute by Stephen King. I did drive to my local Barnes & Noble and bought this the day it came out. That's been my tradition for at least the Stephen King releases that have come out since I have been an adult and have a car and am able to drive to get them. I don't know, I could just pre-order them, but it's a lot more fun to like go to the bookstore the day of. It's very reminiscent of my Harry Potter days when I would attend like midnight book releases. That was my peak, I think. But I do have a full vlog going over this book, reading it, discussion at the end. It's on my channel, not too far down, but spoiler alert for that video, I did really love this book. It's probably my favorite one that he has come out with recently. Another book that I got not on the release date but very close to it because I really wanted to support this author and support this book as soon as it came out, and that book is Know My Name by Chanel Miller. Chanel Miller was formerly known, she was the Emily Doe in the Brock Turner case, and I started reading this a couple of months ago and I'm not too far into it, not because it isn't a good book. It is a very impactful read, but it is a very hard read for me for a number of reasons, and this is just gonna take me a very long time to get through. So not too sure when I am going to actually finish this book. Again, because I'm on page 100 and there's like 300 pages in here. And it's taken me like 2 months to get that far because I really can't get through more than a chapter in a sitting. I do read a lot of horror. I do read a lot of like true crime and, you know, just like a bunch of like deep, dark stuff. But it's very hard to read about horrifying things that happen to people that like you were kind of around for the entire like inception of it all, I guess. Like this is such a current story. I do highly recommend you check this out. I haven't finished it yet, but it is a very impactful read. And while it's not necessarily like a fun page-turning read, it is probably going to be like one of the most impacting books that I have read in a while. The next book that I purchased new, and again, very, very close. I think I didn't get this opening day, but I did get it the weekend it came out because I've been waiting my whole life for this pretty much. Since I was 13, I've been waiting my whole life for this book, and that is The Secret Commonwealth. This is the second book in the Book of Dust trilogy, which is the sequel or companion trilogy to his Dark Materials, which is my favorite series. God tier, up there with Harry Potter for me. Those two series shaped me as a reader, shaped me as a person. I am so excited for this book. The Book of Dust was okay. It took me the longest time to pick it up because I'd heard so many people saying it was kind of a letdown, and in the sense that we've all been waiting like 20 some years between the first series and the second series, it was weird getting a book that didn't have Lyra, the main protagonist of the first 3 books. In the first series, we didn't have her in it at all. Like, she was a baby, so she's not like an engaging character in that. So it was a weird opening to this trilogy. This one has adult Lyra in it. I am so pumped. Since I read the first chapter of The Golden Compass, I have just fallen in love with Lyra and the world, and I'm ready. I'm ready to pick this up. I'm ready to read it. I am ready to see what adult Lyra and adult Pantalaimon are like, and I'm so excited. If I read one more book for the rest of 2019, it's gonna be this one. The next book that I bought, and I prefer hardcovers to paperbacks, but this one I had to get in the paperback, and once you see it, you'll see why. It's one of my favorite book covers of all time. I think it's the most gorgeous thing in the world. and that is My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. I checked this out from the library, I think 2 years ago, and loved it. And I read the hardcover version, and the hardcover version looks like a yearbook, and that was really cool too. But this paperback looks like a VHS tape. Like, it looks battered and bruised up, has a Be Kind, Please Rewind. 90s kids, if you know the pain of getting something from the library and having to rewind it before you watch it. I am a big fan of 80s horror and horror in general, and this is just stunning. Stunning. Like, one of the coolest book covers that I have ever seen. And not only that, but like, this is one of like my favorite horror books. It's really fun. It's like horror comedy. It's great. And then like the back too, you have like a slasher sort of thing. And just going down. Looks like a VHS. It's very cool. Grady Hendrix, if you're sleeping on him, go pick up some of his books. I definitely recommend you pick up like a physical version though, as opposed to like ebook or audiobook, even if you get it from your library, because his books always have the coolest formats. Like this one, Horror Store. There's so much work that goes into the designing of his books. It's almost like a chapter of the book by itself, just kind of analyzing what goes on. I'm very excited to have this in my collection. And it's a floppy paperback, and aren't those the best paperbacks? Did I plan this out at all, having a candle going next to books? No. If I catch up in flames, that's my fault. Anyway, the last book that I bought, brand new, was Getting in the Ninth by Tamsin Moore. The Black Sprite Edges called to me, and I couldn't not. Again, this is another one. I've been buying a lot more hyped books than I have started this one. I am getting through it slowly. Everything has kind of taken a back burner because I'm trying to read all of the Goodreads Choice finalists for the horror category, so all of my other reading plans have kind of fallen by the wayside. But from what I've read of this one, I've really enjoyed it. And I'm sorry I'm not giving like synopsises in these, but for a lot of these, I haven't read them, so I don't really know what to talk about for the books. This one's been very hyped, so I feel like everyone kind of has some idea what it's about. Lesbian necromancers in space. There's like a competition going on. It's pretty cool from what I've read so far. And I'm like third of the way through the book, so I'm excited to pick it back up again once all of this Goodreads finalists craziness has kind of gone down some. Okay, and then moving on to books that I got secondhand. So the first one I did go to Montana this summer for vacation, and then we went to Yellowstone and all of that. We stopped by it was like this like old mining town, and they had like a thrift store there, and of course I went to their book section, had to find a book. I think this was like $2, but I got Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil by John Berendt, and this is actually one of, I wouldn't say favorite books, but this is a book that has like a lot of personal meaning to me, I guess. I don't know how to qualify that because it's not like the best written book. Like, it's a nonfiction, almost like newspaper journalistic sort of writing. My mom loves this book. I read this book as well on her recommendation, so we kind of have that in common. And I have gone to Savannah multiple times, and the first time I read this book was when I was in Savannah. This is about Savannah. Savannah is one of the most beautiful places I've ever visited in the world, and I really enjoy this book, and I just thought it was really cool to find this very old copy. And it doesn't have any like movie tie-ins or anything, which is great because while the movie is really good too, I really just don't like having any sort of like movie tie-ins on my covers. I prefer the original. So this has got to be pretty old because the movie came out in the 90s, I think, or early 2000s. It's so hard to tell now when watching old movies. Like the early 2000s weren't that much different than the 90s, but it's a good movie. You should check it out. I'm just glad that I don't have any of it on my book cover. And then moving on to Goodwill. Yeah, it was Goodwill. They were having like a 50% off sale the entire store. So I found Hannibal by Thomas Harris for 50 cents, and it is a cool, really nicely good mint condition hardcover. It has deckled edges, which I know a lot of people hate. I love. I've always loved them. My first book with deckled edges was A Series of Unfortunate Events, the first book, The Bad Beginning. That was the first book I had with deckled edges, and I just thought it was the coolest thing ever. So I really like them, but I got this one for 50 cents, and I can't remember if I've read it or not. I've definitely read Silence of the Lambs and Red Dragon before. I don't remember if I've read Hannibal or not, but now I own the hardback, so if I haven't, then I will soon. Sorry, I just opened it up and found, that's really cool. I found some old plane tickets. I'm gonna cover like the information because they're random people, but I just found plane tickets in here. That's really cool. See, this is what I love about like thrift shopped books. Wow, okay, so these people came to Indy from Chicago. That makes sense. I wish there was like a date on this. That's really neat. Anyway, yeah, so that's Hannibal by Thomas Harris. And then this book I got for 25 cents. And again, I know that I've said before in this video, I vastly prefer hardcover. They're just easier to read, and I feel like they just hold up more to the test of time. But I found this for 25 cents. And it was just so cool and so vintage, and even though I probably am going to, I already know the editions of the Lord of the Rings books that I want to get for my own personal library collection, I think this would be like a really cool like decoration piece because it is very vintage and very cool. So this is the Lord of the Rings, the Return of the King. I don't know, but this is just a really cool copy. 25 cents. I mean, I had to pick it up. The pages are like very, like this fun, rich yellow mustardy color. I don't know if it's because it's super old or like it was initially meant to be like that. I don't know. Just looked cool. It is the apparently special Silver Jubilee edition, so. And then the next 3 books I got from Half Price Books. And Half Price Books is where I normally get all of my Stephen King books. I'm a constant reader and, you know, I do buy like his new releases as they come out, but I haven't been alive for all of his new releases. He's got quite the backlog to track through, and not only that, I do prefer like the original covers of all of his things. I know it would be a lot easier to get like a mass market paperback or even like a mass market like reissue of like a hardcover because I know his covers have gone through a lot of changes over the years. I just like the original ones. I think they're cool. So I usually go to my local Half Price Books and get at least 1 book of his a trip. I think I got this one in the summer too. It's been a while, but it's probably one of the coolest finds that I've ever found at my Half Price Books. And that would be Stephen King's Eye of the Dragon. I just love this. This is so cool. It gives like the perfect like 80s, it reminds me of like Never Ending Story or something like that almost. So this is really cool, and it has like illustrations in it too. This is a fantasy, I believe, and I don't think it has any horror elements in it either because I believe he wrote this for his daughter because she said she supported him as an author, but she doesn't like scary things, so she wouldn't read any of them. So he wrote this for her. So yeah, I'm excited. I don't really know a lot about this. I don't feel like people talk about this book that much when it comes to King, so I don't know if it means it's just like slept on or if it's just not that great. Nevertheless, it is a really cool cover. It's probably one of my favorite Stephen King covers that I own at the moment. I just think it's really cool and I'm excited to have it. And then the last 2 books, and we can finally wrap this haul up. I actually got these. These are the most recent books that I've purchased. I purchased them last week. Such good finds, and I sold back some books too, so these were like, I think I like paid like $5 for these. But I found the first 2 books in the Bill Hodges trilogy. They actually had finders, or they had the 3rd one too, but it was like so ripped up and not in good condition at all, so I passed on it. But I got Mr. Mercedes and Finders Keepers, and these are both in excellent condition. Now you still can buy these at like Barnes & Noble or something like that. It's obviously way cheaper to thrift them. I have read The Outsider, and one of the characters in The Outsider came from this trilogy. So I am excited to pick up this trilogy. Definitely reading The Outsider kind of bumped it up more in priority on my list because initially I wasn't really like prioritizing reading the Bill Hodges trilogy, but I am excited to pick up Mr. Mercedes. I do like that cover. You can't tell because there's like a glare from my window already, but it is like metallic almost, like the umbrella and the blood, so that looks really cool. And then of course Finders Keepers, you have like the metallic blood and like a book as well. So those are the final 2 books. That is going to be the end of this book haul. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, leave a comment down below, and subscribe for more content from me. I will catch you guys in my next video. Bye!